Listen to your intuition, no matter what it looks like, on paper, in person. Listen to that inner voice. It will never lead you wrong. Our ambition is my peace. I think we underestimate the role that money plays in shaping policy. In order for us to have a true democracy in America, we must overturn United Citizen versus FEC. There wasn't a blueprint for me in the household. I had to rely on myself and rely on the incredible mentors that I met along the way. And certainly, again, God's grace and mercy.
Welcome back to another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. My name is Raisa and I'm your host. And today we have a woman that does not only study power, she's able to shape it. And she has experience from the highest level of government all the way up to global diplomacy. Help us welcome Ms. Johanna Leblanc.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been a while. We've been trying to get this, but you're so busy, traveling, changing the world pretty much.
I'm so happy we're able to make it happen. So thank you again for your patience, and I look forward to a very productive conversation.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you immigrated here from Haiti at the age of 9 years old. At what point did you shift your mindset from adapting to America and started thinking about shaping it?
Well, when I moved to America at the age of 9, like most immigrants, right? We come to America in pursuit of the American dream, right? We're told you come to America, you follow the rules, you go to school, and you can be very successful. So I took those things to heart, and I followed the law as much as I could. But nonetheless, I focused on my education, right? That was very important for me very, very early on. So went to undergrad, have an undergraduate degree in political science. Then obviously coming from a Haitian household, it was either I went to law school or med school. So I decided to go to law school at Indiana University, Robert H. McKinney School of Law. And then I also have a master's degree as well. And then moved to DC and pursued an advanced law degree in national security law and U.S. foreign relations at GW Law School. Because I knew that in order for me to have a seat at the table, in order for me to be taken serious, and in order for me to make an impact, education was vital. In America and like many places around the world, you gain access either through your network, which I didn't have as an immigrant, or through hard work and God's grace and mercy, and your education. So for me, that's what I had. So I had to use that in order to make the kind of impact that I wanted to make in the world.
That you wanted to.
Correct.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's amazing. So you did not have the network, so you pretty much worked really hard.
Correct.
To get to where you are.
Correct.
You're an immigrant and no resources, so you had to just put your foot forward and get out there to get what you want. Absolutely.
Again, some of the things that I've been able to do career-wise, and even my education career, no one in my family had ever done it before. No one had ever gone to law school. No one had ever earned a bachelor's degree. Like, no one really understood that journey, except because I'm first generation. Exactly,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, my siblings have gone and they've done much better, gone and their undergraduate degrees and other degrees of whatnot. But as the oldest, there wasn't a blueprint for me in the household. I had to rely on myself and rely on the incredible mentors that I met along the way. And certainly, again, God's grace and mercy.
Amen. Amen to that. So, immigration is often debated in abstractions, numbers, policies, and borders. What do you think is the emotional cost of immigration that is often underestimated?
Well, certainly as an immigrant, when you come to America, you leave your family behind. Like, for example, for myself, my cousins, my aunt, they're back in Haiti, right? we don't get to have Christmas together, right? We don't get to have Thanksgiving together. I think that oftentimes we don't talk about those things, right? We come to America in pursuit of the American dream, and we leave all those memories and our families behind. And oftentimes we're by ourselves and our tiny little family, mom, dad, and siblings, and that's about it. So I think, oftentimes, again, we don't talk about that aspect of it. You see your friends, they have their cousins, they have their aunts and their uncles they get to hang out with, they get to go visit, but you yourself, your family, they're like in a whole different part of the world. In my case, they're not too far away, but nonetheless, because obviously Haiti is part of the Western Hemisphere. From Miami, it's probably like an hour and a half flight. But when you're raised in underprivileged, buying a flight $200-$300 can be a bit steep. So the notion of just getting up, buying a ticket to go home to visit your family may not be the most viable option at the time. So the emotional toll of the disconnect of the families and the breaking of families as a result of migration is often not discussed. It should be discussed more.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we have in common, because I'm also an immigrant, equally first generation from my family to come to the U.S. And I was here alone pretty much, going to school, trying to figure out America, figure out what you want to do. And then up to the point where now you can bring other people from your family here. You can be a guide to people coming behind you. So the emotional hardship is really tough. It's tough.
Absolutely. Especially back, in a lot of these communities outside of America. Family is so important. Like you're very a tight-knit family. You do everything together.
Spend Christmas alone and it's cold.
And then you come to America and it's like, you can't go down the street
and just greet someone
and ask your aunt for a cup of coffee or a cup of sugar or whatnot, and you come here, it's a bit isolated. It's different, and it's something that I had to get used to, but it's okay.
You don't even know your neighbor. And you can live in the same apartment for years and you would not even know your neighbor. It's this very, like you said, very isolated concept. And to move away from where it used to be like community, you're around family, loved ones, now to like you're alone in your room and it's like work, home, school, work, home, school, that's it.
Right.
So that can be very emotionally, difficult.
Okay.
So you've worked inside Congress, you've advised ambassadors, you've even had engagements with the White House. What is the most uncomfortable truth about how policy decisions are actually made?
That's a very loaded question. Because there's so many different facets of it, right? There's domestic policies and there's also international policies, right? But I will say that I think we underestimate the role that money play in shaping policy, both domestically and otherwise. For example, I'll give you an example. You have Citizens United versus FEC. So it's a landmark Supreme Court case that make it such that corporations can pretty much spend unlimited amount of dollars when it comes to candidates running for office as they wish, right? I think for you and I, if we're to contribute to a candidate, the maximum is about $3,000, right? However, for corporations and super PACs, they could spend unlimited amount of money, right? So I can identify a candidate that I want to have a certain seat and say, as a super PAC, say, I'm going to dump about $1 million in this candidate, right? And pretty much make that candidate spend more money than their opponent
on advertisement,
through advertisement and other means. So it's not like we're giving the money to the candidate. It's just the super PAC will engage in advertisement and other sorts of means to kind of promote that candidate. And when the candidate wins, guess what? You have to pay it back, right?
Yeah, now they feel entitled.
Well, it's not they feel entitled. It's just if someone spends that much money on you, it's expected that when you get to office, you're going to ensure that policies don't undermine their interests. Because if you start to support policies that undermine their interests, guess what? You may be out of office next election cycle, right? So I think that in order for us to have a true democracy in America, we must overturn United Citizen versus FEC, and we must remove dark money from politics completely because it plays a vital role in the shaping of both domestic and foreign policy.
Wow, so money.
We have noticed that 97% of you guys that watch our videos, you're not subscribed. You're not liking the videos, you're not sharing, you're not doing anything. Now, I don't know if it's that you're a silent hater, but I would assume you're enjoying the content. I would assume you're enjoying what we do. I would assume you would love to support us. You would love to see us grow. So please make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, especially your subscription, because it let us know that we are growing. And the more we grow, the more guests we're able to bring on the platform, the more we're able to share our experiences as podcast hosts, and the more we're able to bring you guys exquisite experience, like high level experience. So your support literally is what will build our brand. Exactly. You, the viewers, you guys looking at this. So when we ask for your subscription, we're asking for more than just, I know it's just easy, right? You're just giving, you just subscribe, but it makes a huge difference into the work that we do. And we hope to see more subscriptions moving forward. Thank you.
Money's follow the money.
Correct. Follow the money.
Has your work changed how you feel safe or unsafe personally in the world? Like, are you more like, I know a lot?
Well, we certainly have challenges all around the world, security issues.
Yeah.
In the Middle East, in the Sahel region, even here in the United States, right? So I think that in terms of me personally feeling safe, I haven't really thought about it from that perspective, from that lens. So it's really actually a really good question.
Yeah.
But we certainly have security concerns all around the world, and there needs to be greater initiatives to address some of our security crises. And we know a lot of these insurgency groups, whether it be Hezbollah, Boko Haram, and Hamas and so on. Yes, there's an ideology that is driving those groups, but there's also a poverty that is enabling them to continue to grow and thrive in their respective spaces. So we need to, as a world, as a global village, and to figure out a way to ensure that people have access to their most basic necessities, so that these insurgency groups won't be as successful at recruiting. I'm not saying they will completely not be successful, but they'll be less successful because of the ideological aspect of it. So there will always be some people who have that belief that they must join some of these terrorist organizations or insurgency groups, but there's a pocket of people who join because of lack of economic opportunities.
And that's true. Not even going too far here in America, crime happens because there's a lot of low income, they're on the streets, they're hungry, they come and they rob you. Maybe not because they want to, but because it's like, I have to have my own, I have to take it from you in order to have something. And then now it's not safe. You don't even know what is going on. So not going too far. It's right here.
Correct.
It's right here, but we're working on it. We're trying our best. So you've also worked extensively with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and trade diplomacy.
Correct. So the African Continental Free Trade Area is Africa's trade policy, right? We're talking about a trade agreement that has been ratified by more than 44 countries across the African continent to create a single market of 1.4 billion people, obviously on the African continent. But this trade agreement has the potential, if implemented properly, of increasing the collective GDPs of African nations by more than 3 trillion USD, and also lifting more than 30 million people out of abject poverty. So it is very transformative, right? It is a necessity. It was the vision of Kwame Nkrumah. And so many of Africa's forefathers. So I'm very pleased to see that it has been implemented and it's in full effect, and it's being led by the AfCFTA Secretariat in Accra, Ghana. But obviously, getting a continent that is incredibly fragmented with so many different politics and obviously, definitely, certainly different heads of states and different interests to come together and create a single market. There certainly will be challenges. I mean, you have issues like the infrastructure issues. You have the visa issues, right? Moving from the ability to move from one country to another, which actually ultimately impact trade, right? If I can't just move from Ethiopia, for example, to Botswana without a visa, right? It kind of slow down that process, right? So I think there's a lot that has to be addressed in order for the AfCFTA to fully be implemented. And I think some of the heads of state, you see countries like Rwanda, countries like Kenya that have offered visa-free to people of African descent on the African continent. So I think that's a step in the right direction. And also the mobile payment system, the PAPS system, which makes it easy to transact with other countries across the African continent. So I think we're certainly in the right direction, but there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure full implementation. But for Africa to be fully liberated, I think this is it. This is the key. So I don't think the continent has a choice. I think that in a time when we see more and more policies coming out of various countries around the world being more protectionist and being a bit isolationist, I think now is the time, is a perfect time for the African continent to accelerate the implementation of the AfCFTA.
Yeah. Do you think there's also a risk for it to become, like enhance extraction in terms of just like economic extraction zone? Like it's gonna enhance that if it's, like you said, it has to be implemented properly. So do you think there's also a risk of that becoming a high risk factor for like for the continent or other countries using Africa now as like a way to extract more of its resources?
Well, I think that's the whole purpose of the AfCFTA is to keep those resources on the continent, right? To manufacture goods on the continent and sell it to
a finished product.
Correct, and sell it to other parts of the world instead of extracting the goods, the raw materials out and sending it to Europe and other parts of the world, which robs the continent of wealth. Because when you take out the raw material, whether it be cotton, whether it be gold or whatnot, that's manufacturing jobs that you've just robbed the continent of, right? So if you just prioritize job creation, which is why the AfCFTA was created, is just because I think the forefathers and anybody with a brain understands that the only way that the continent will be fully liberated is through is having more people who are economically liberated and more millionaires on the continent and more young people who are employed. You're talking about a continent where the average age is 19. So there's a lot of hunger, right, for success. And the AfCFTA creates a great deal of opportunity for job creation and also to create the next millionaires, even billionaires across the African continent.
That's good. So fingers crossed, this works out because like you said, the growth that it would really change a lot of lives, more millionaires. And there's a lot of creativity too. Just resources are lacking, resources, aid and technology support. There's a lot lacking, but I think a lot of youths, back home in the continent of Africa, they have that need. They have the knowledge, they have the talent, they have the skill, but it's just that little factor that seems to be missing. And definitely being able to trade across different countries would solve a lot of that issue.
Absolutely. The continent has everything it needs to be a superpower. The continent feeds the rest of the world. Yes. Without the continent, the rest of the world literally collapses.
Yeah.
So.
So you're a woman that has been in rooms where women of color is still an anomaly, right? To see a woman of color in certain rooms that you've been in. What are some unspoken rules that you had to learn?
Good question. I operate in rooms that are male dominated, right? Yeah. Because my work as a partner at the Adomi Advisory Group, where I lead our global public policy practice. Part of my job is to go after contracts, right? To go, and the people who are oftentimes in positions to give those contracts, they're men. So I have to be in the room with those men, right? So I think that being a woman, I think it's a plus, but also has its disadvantage as well. Because sometimes I think because we live in the United States, where we have a certain mindset about, well, some of us have a certain mindset about women empowerment, seeing women in leadership roles and so on. We have to understand in so many parts of the world, like, that's not the norm, right? And you walk into these spaces and you about the religion, learn about, the way they greet, right? They're not asking for perfection. But when people see that you actually try, they become more open to you and more willing to do business with you. Yeah.
Okay. You've mentored Mandela Washington Fellows for nearly a decade?
Correct.
What responsibility comes from being someone else's proof of possibility?
So, it's a great deal of responsibility. And it's actually one of the reasons why I teach American foreign policy in another course. And I teach not only because I want to impart knowledge, not only because I want to transfer knowledge. I want to share what I know, because most of my classes are not theory based or like practice based. So I expect that when you leave my class, you can actually operate in this space and be successful, right?
That's wonderful.
But for me, beyond all of that, it's about the ability to be a mentor to some of my students, right? For my students to see someone that look like them. Most of my students look like me. And even if they don't look like me, right? But it's important for them to see someone that is teaching them, that is not only teaching the subject from a theoretical perspective, but also teaching it from a practical standpoint. So it's a great deal of responsibility, because I remember when I was in college, some of my, professors became my mentors, right? They actually, guide me through the law school process. They wrote recommendation letters for me and so on. So if I only saw teaching as just going to class and deliver a lesson, it will be much more easier, right? Yeah. But I see it as a sense of responsibility, as a duty to pay back. As someone who went to historically Black college and university for both undergrad and grad school, teaching at an HBCU, Howard, the Mecca, is one of the greatest honors of my life. Yeah. Again, just being able to utilize that platform that I have as an adjunct professor to be able to also mentor and mold the minds of future leaders. You're aggressive to go after what you want, right? But you have to understand the culture, kind of like tone it down a little bit, right? Because the mindset that I use when I'm trying to secure contracts in the United States, or not the mindset, the method that I use when I'm trying to secure contracts in the United States versus the method I use when I'm trying to secure contracts in the global South, not just Africa, is quite different because I understand the dynamics, right? So that's why it's important to be culturally competent when you are working in these different spaces. Understand the culture of where you are and act accordingly, and you will be successful. I'm not saying that it will be easy, but you must understand the culture, right? Yeah. You must understand the unspoken rules, right? Because oftentimes, if you don't, you will miss out. You will miss out on great opportunities. So it's vital that you study where you're going, like the market, the people, the culture, before you actually start to engage in order to be successful. But certainly, being a woman, it's a plus, and also people in the space that I'm in, even the women, they tend to be a bit older as well. And sometimes that, people undermine you, right? When you walk in the room, they just see you and they just don't think you have much to offer. And then they start talking to you like, oh, this person actually has a brain. They actually understand the dynamics in our country or across the African continent. Now they're willing to talk even more with you and have a dialogue and willing to sit down with you and see what you're offering and what you're trying to sell them, right? So I think, it's important that you study, you have a brain, right? I think that, certain things will get you in the room.
Yeah.
But to stay in the room, you need to have a brain.
Yeah.
You need to understand, you need to study, you need to read, you need to be intellectually sound. You need to understand the political nuances in the country that you're operating in. And you need to understand the people that you're talking to. You need to do your homework. And I think once you do those things, I think you'll be successful. You'll be just fine. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's a lot. You make it seem easy.
Yeah.
But it's not, I feel like it's easier said than done.
Yes.
But you make it seem so easy, like, yeah, you just have to. But so give me an example of something, of a time when you walked in, you're like, oh, okay, I have to backtrack. The way I'm going about this is not the right way in terms of being a woman.
Yeah. I think, for example, I was in Algeria, for example, and completely forgot it was a Muslim country, right?
Yeah. And
I initially walked in the room and I was going to have a meeting with someone very high level. And of course, I was dressed very professional, but there's a certain way that you present yourself. Once I realized that, I had to make up something and tell the receptionist that I had to go back to my room. Oh. And I changed and I came back.
Oh, wow.
And thankfully, the person I was meeting was very gracious, allowed me to go back to my room. They didn't know why I left, but I went back because I wanted to be respectful of their culture, right? So that's an example, right? So before you travel, and again, I travel to countries around the world, in particular the African continent, they're different. Algeria is different from Botswana. Botswana is different from Nigeria. Nigeria is different from Ghana, right? So you must understand these dynamics, and present yourself accordingly, because by not doing so, you could offend someone. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to offend someone's culture. And you need to understand that this is their space, right? And while you're in their space, respect their culture, respect their religion, right? And you do that, they'll actually respect you a little bit more, that you actually took the time to learn about their culture, learn this nation, of course, the world. Yeah. So being a mentor to the Mandela Fellows was kind of like a no-brainer. About a decade ago, when I moved to DC, a friend of mine invited me to one of the meetings that they were having for the Mandela Fellows, and I was asked if I would be interested in being a mentor. I said, absolutely. I mean, I've lived on the African continent. I've lived in South Africa, Ghana, Malawi, Eswatini, and I've worked across the African continent. So for me, it was certainly something that I was looking forward to just share my knowledge and share my experiences with people, and also guiding them and saying, apply for this, apply for that. You should look at it from this perspective, from that perspective. To me, that's what life is about. Life is about helping to pave the way and utilizing our experiences to help make someone's life just a little bit easier. That's it.
Yeah, just to give them that push that they need. Correct. Which student really touched your life? When you have a student and you're like, I can see great things. Tell us which one really made a difference in your life or really touched you in a different way.
I'll say all of my students.
All of them?
Yeah, I see the greatness in all of them, and even the ones you have may not be your A student. You still see the greatness in them. Like, you see things in them that they don't even see themselves, right? They challenge you in a way that you didn't even think they would be able to, right? And they don't think they do. And I tell them all the time, you guys challenge me, right? They're like, please, you're just talking, professor. But I see, when I look at them, I see the future of this nation, right? Because that's what they are. They're going to be, vice presidents.
Yeah.
They're going to be presidents. They're going to be teachers. They're going to be lawyers. They're going to be doctors. They're going to be nurses. They're going to be engineers. They're going to be running this country, from various fields and so on. So I'm always proud of them, and I'm always proud of how much kids in this generation have to overcome. Because I always say this: if I had to go to school in this era, I don't know if if I would have graduated. I don't know if I would have had 4 degrees. I don't know if I would have had an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, a Juris Doctorate, and another master's degree. I don't know if I would have been focused enough because they have so much going on in terms of, social media. Even me as an adult, I go on TikTok for 1 second before I know it's an hour. I'm like, holy cow, if you don't hear for an hour, right? So I can only imagine how difficult it is for these kids, but yet they still show up. They still do their assignments and they still graduate. And to me, it's a different era. It really is. So I'm forever proud of them. So I always go to graduation. I make it my business to be there because I think it's one of the most important days of someone's life when you graduate and get to move on to the next phase of your career. Yeah.
That's wonderful. 4 degrees. That's very impressive. That's very impressive. Which takes me to the next thing. Has your ambition ever competed with your peace?
No, absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. My ambition is my peace.
That's good. I was about to ask that which one is winning, but because your ambition gives you peace.
Yeah, because I'm working in my purpose. Like nothing that I'm doing in terms of career-wise is by accident. I literally designed my life. Everything I'm doing at this moment, at this time, is exactly how I wanted my life to be. So I'm at peace, right? Of course, I'm always pursuing, the next contract. I'm always pursuing for the next bigger and better opportunity, right? As a partner at the firm. But everything that I'm doing right now at this moment is exactly how I designed my life.
It's exactly what you want to
Even
do.
when it gets hard, when it gets tough, I know that's what I signed up for.
And
it's not like something, my career is not something that someone shoved down my throat, something I was forced to do because there was nothing else to do. It's exactly what I wanted to do with my career.
Yeah.
With my life, so.
Yeah. And I'm the same. Sometimes when people ask me, like, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I love working. Not like I'm a workaholic, but it's fun for me. Like, I enjoy it. I get a lot of satisfaction from what I do. Aside from the podcast, my healthcare business, I get a lot of satisfaction from what I do. I feel like I'm making a difference, it fulfills me. So I don't feel like I'm giving up, free time for work. I would probably feel that way if I were working for someone. Because then I would be like, I'm over here doing this thing for you. What am I doing for myself? But when you're, like you said, working in your purpose, you definitely have peace.
Correct.
That's good. All right. If you could rewrite one global rule, just one, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, that is a good question. I have to think about that one. I don't know if I know an answer right off the top. Let me see. If I had to rewrite one global rule, what would it be?
Take your time.
I think that the notion that bigger states have to crush smaller states in order to maintain dominance shouldn't be the case. I think we have resources in abundance. We have resources on the African continent. We have resources right here in this region. I think that if we can come together as people and bring our resources to the table and manage them properly, we don't have to create chaos in countries. We don't have to create wars. We don't have to create illnesses, right? As a way to undermine and suppress the development, destabilize other nations for us to thrive. I think we could all thrive as nations all around the world. So I will rewrite that rule that those who are considered to be the superpower must take whatever steps that are necessary in order to destabilize and undermine other nations' development in order to maintain global dominance. I'll write that rule.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Good job coming up with that.
I think about that all the time.
Just right now. That was not so hard. You came up with it within like a couple of minutes. That's a pretty good.
Well, there's so many rules that I would like to rewrite.
But that's the one you would start with.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a really good one. That's a really good role. So if your 9-year-old self was listening to this conversation today, what would she be the most proud of? And what would she be asking you to fix? Or, to keep working on?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. It's kind of deep.
I put thought into it. I put thought into
That's a bit deep.
Mm-hmm.
What would I be proud of? I'll say I'm proud of you, in spite of you kept going. And what was the second part?
What advice? Like, keep going, keep doing something, or maybe fix this. What advice would your 9-year-old give you?
Listen to your intuition. No matter what it looks like, on paper, in person, listen to that inner voice. It will never lead you wrong. In business, in relationships, in friendships, it will never, ever lead you wrong. Listen to it.
That's really good. That was really good. Well, do you have anything you want to add? This was a great conversation. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to share my journey. And I look forward to staying in contact. And I wish you all the best with your healthcare business and your podcast.
Thank you.
And you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
Doing these interviews, putting the different pieces together, and making it content that people actually want to consume. It's not easy. It's a gift. You have to acknowledge that. I have no idea how you do what you do, but you're doing a great job. So keep up the good work. I'm so proud of you. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. It's really an honor.
Thank you. I'm humbled. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching this episode. Feel free to stay in touch with Jo. Oh, how do people contact you? How do people connect with you if they want to know more about you?
Yes, so I am very easy to find online. My name is Johanna Leblanc, Johanna, last name Leblanc, Leblanc. If you Google my name, you'll find my Instagram page, you'll find my website for work, you'll find all of my social media profiles. So on Instagram, it is at I am Johanna Leblanc, and on X, it's I am Johanna, and all the other profiles, it's my first and my last name, JDLM. So
thank you. That was Johanna. And thank you guys for watching this episode. Leave your comments, leave your questions, anything you have. She will be collabed on this, and so she'll be able to read any comments or questions, inquiries, even just support and encouragement. Feel free to leave that in the comment section, and we will see you on our next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.